Empower Project, empowering people with disabilities through effective disaster management. The project partners are Istanbul Governorship from Turkey, Institute of Educational and Professional Orientation from Greece, Institute for the Promotion of Development and Training from Spain, Istanbul Provincial Directorate of Family, Labor and Social Services from Turkey, Training Service Center from Italy, Association Fundacja H from Romania and Istanbul Technic University, Turkey. This project has been funded with support from the European Commission. This document and its contents reflect the views only of the authors, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use which may be made of the information contained therein. Project number 20201 TR01 CA 204094078. Vodcast. How to stay calm and avoid panic attacks.
Hello to all of you. This podcast is part of the Empower project, Empower Person with Disability through Effective Disaster Management, coordinated by the Government of Istanbul and co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. Enrique is with us. He is psychology at University of Salamanca and Autonomous University of Madrid, clinical psychology at European University of Madrid. He is working the last year both as clinical and organizational psychologist in different entities, both in Spain and in Ireland. And also he has training and he has some experience in emergencies during the last year. Enrique, welcome. So one of the objectives of the Empower project is to integrate disability into the disaster management cycles and to raise awareness among people with disabilities and their caregivers about the increasing risk of disaster. Therefore, I would like you to explain a bit about how to stay calm and avoid panic attacks in an emergency or natural disaster.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Victoria, for having me here. I think it's not an easy question to answer at once because we could be talking about that for hours or even days, but I will try to give some general paths or general ideas about that. First of all, I think that is very important for all of us to have clear that anxiety or stress in general is not a bad or negative thing per se, as it's. In some point, the stress is very necessary for survival, and also I think is very important and positive in some points in our lives. I will put my hand in fire, and I think I will not be hurt if I say that all of us, in some point of our life, we felt already or we are going to feel anxiety or stress in our lives, and it's totally normal, and in some point, as I said before, is positive. We don't feel anxiety only on heavy situations of chaos, such as natural disasters or accidents, but also in our day-to-day. For example, myself at work every day, or with our family, or our partner, or whatever. So it is important to have this clear. I think that is not a negative thing, the anxiety or the stress per se. I will say also that the anxiety or stress will be the physical signal of the stress. I mean, the anxiety, when we talk about anxiety, we talk about things that we can see or we can feel, like tachycardic, or we like feeling that we are our heart is racing, or we feel shortness of breath, for example, or we feel this urge to run away in some point. This is kind of signals that our body send to us, telling us that we feel this anxiety or this stress. And at the end, this anxiety, this stress is just an answer to an external or an internal threat, in that case. And at the end, if the level of anxiety is correct, that will allow us to respond in a proper way with our resources to this challenge or this threat. That is called in psychology is called eustress. It's the positive stress, when your level of resources is is the correct level to answer this threat, this challenge, or this situation. But on the other hand, we also can find that if the stress remains too much longer, for example, than the threat, or the threat is not there anymore, but we keep this high level of stress and anxiety, that will be danger for our health, both mentally health and also physically. Also, if the threat is not, if the threat of the situation demands us much more resources that we have and we are prepared about, we feel over demanding, and this negative stress will appear again. And we call this negative stress distress. So at the end, it's important to differentiate between these two ways of the response, these two ways of stress: the eustress, which is the positive one, and the distress, which is, we will say, the negative one, the one that could be dangerous for ourselves in mental terms and also in physical terms. That for starting. But also, I think a second thing that I would like to highlight is that when we see people in stressful situations, such as an accident, for example, or natural disasters, or whatever situation is, we need to differentiate between those people who are conscious about that and their level of anxiety is normal, we will say normal, or adaptive for the situation, and those who may be in shock, for example, in that moment, and they are not conscious about the situation. For the first one, the ones that the people who are present both physically and mentally, they know the situation. For example, they know what happened. For example, in Spain, a few months ago, we have this volcano in La Palma. The people, they were really conscious about what happens, and they were not ready for that, but they were really conscious about the situation in the majority of the times. But they feel anyway over demanding. They feel this tachycardic, they feel a very high level of physical anxiety. In that cases, when the person is conscious, they know about the situation, but they feel over demanding, we can try to do with them, for example, some mindfulness exercises or some breath exercises also. For example, the typical exercise will be closing or asking the person to close his eyes or her eyes, breathing through your nose, for example, slowly in a deeply way, counting to 3 in any breath, for example, and kind of asking them to feel all the feelings of their body, filling the lungs with fresh air, for example, if possible. Hold the breath for some seconds and then let the air out again through the mouth slowly. Counting to 3 between different breaths, and repeat the process 2, 3, or any times that the people need. By that, we try to lower the level of anxiety, the physical anxiety, and also lowering the response, like tachycardic or different response, physically response that may have. But on the other hand, as I said, we can find those people who can be in that moment in shock, in a mental and emotional shock also. If we see or if we feel that, for example, it seems that a person is not there or the level of stress is very high, but they are not conscious about that, about what happened, about an accident or similar, we need in some point to let them be there, at least for a while, because it's useful. In some point, this shock, this status of shock, this disconnection of the world, we'll say, allows them to integrate all this heavy pain that they cannot handle in that moment. So we cannot break this moment, this shock, because in some point it's very necessary, and this disconnection is necessary for them. In that case, it's just figure out, for example, a mother or someone in an accident who has lost their kids or whatever. Is not positive if you ask them to breathe and everything will be fine. We need to stay there. In that case, it should be enough being there and validating all they need. If they need to cry, it's okay. If they need to cry, we can give our shoulder to cry. If they need to scream, it's also okay. If they need to sleep, it's okay. They may go to sleep. if they need to punch the table or something, in some point is okay. Of course, always keeping their physical safety and others also. Once we see the person is, we will say, back to reality, we can maybe try to do some breath exercises or, if necessary, mindfulness, but not before, because if not, we are going to break this state, and it's very useful for them in the short and long term.
Mm-hmm.
And also, and this is the last but not least, I would say that also we can face, as we all did through the last 2 years and a half, more continuous natural or sanitary disasters, such as the COVID since 2020. And it's normal that we feel this collective anxiety, that the anxiety is all around us. For example, I guess that you also felt that in some point. It can also happen that all the mental and emotional things that we have left behind silence through the years comes out in that point. In order to remain calm, we should follow in all times the protocols, the authorities, and try to filter, for example, and control the amount of news or information that we are seeking. It's not positive to seek information all the time. It's possible to have enough information to be informed and not to be compulsively looking for this information. I will say that it's also positive to look for this information in official press sources or official authorities, and try to differentiate that between fake news and official news, and not spreading this fake news or possible fake news through social media, for example, social networks like Twitter, Instagram, or whatever. In this way, at least we will avoid creating a situation of collective anxiety and collective fear in some point. And also, if possible, try to keep the same habits that we have before, for example, COVID. If you used to run, just keep running. If I used to watch films, just keeping the same, watching films. If you have any other hobbies, just keep, or trying at least in some point to keep the same habits that you have before, and to remain in all point, trying to remain calm, understanding that it's not possible sometimes. Mm-hmm. I will say that it's very difficult because you will have, or you will need to see any specific cases and study all the cases because it's not the same for me, for you, but in general points, I think that all these key points could be useful.
Mm-hmm. So thank you very much for your tips, Enrique. It will be very useful to keep calm and avoid panic attacks in any emergency situation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Evitare. Have a good day.
For more information, you can visit the website www.empowerpwd.eu. For more information, you can visit the website www.empowerpwd.eu.